Stay sweet, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Devin, joined as usual by Lauren, Bruce, Sid, etc. Sonic Adventure. It's a game, and this week we are talking about Amy Rose's story. Last week, I guess we probably talked about Knuckles or something. I don't know. Anyway, today we're talking about Amy Rose, playable in a mainline Sonic game for the first time.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's true.
And, well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't love the first impression that she makes. Her story is a little bit weird.
I don't mind it, actually.
I'm just gonna come out and say I loved it playing as Amy.
Really?
I liked playing as Amy. I did not like her stages.
So I'm so happy, Sid. I was only talking about the first impression. I don't mind it. Overall, yeah, I agree, actually. Amy's story is pretty good.
I found playing as Amy to be, I think it was the most fun I had with the game was playing as Amy.
Wow, that's high praise.
That is a lot of high praise. Yeah, damn.
Okay, I
Now,
guess
I'm
I'm
not
the
sure
odd
how
one
much of that was the Nutrix mod. Right?
Not sure how much
Okay.
that was, the alcohol.
Well, I played it straight, and I had a pretty good time.
I played it gay, and I didn't hate it. Amy's gameplay in this is, well, it's a linear platform stage. They just have a robot chasing you, but she has hammer and is a little slow.
I know she has a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It is
Like, it's
weird.
not just a hammer, like it's a hammer. Like
It was a big boy.
It's a big ass mallet.
It is.
you get to beat the demons out of all the robots.
Hell yeah, brother.
I guess since we're doing an overall sort of impression, I can bring up my question now, which is, I want to know everyone's opinion specifically on the mechanic where Zero chases you through the levels.
Oh, I didn't notice it most of the time. I'm gonna be honest.
He is so easy to avoid. It's mostly unintrusive, I'd say.
I did find it to lead to like some pretty funny moments at points.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious because when I first played the game, I was like, oh, it's going to be a total slog. But after I, realized he was not a threat at all, now Zero is actually just like a companion that follows me through the stage.
He's just a fun guy.
He's
Doesn't
just a
fun
bit
you
of
doing.
comic relief. And if he does get annoying, I can hit him and he looks hilarious when he falls over.
I cannot tell you how many levels I spent time just hitting Zero over and over.
There is
to
a
remind
bit of
him
like
that I could indeed beat him in a fight.
like
Yeah.
FromSoft style physical comedy just to the gameplay of that, where you're busy dealing with some puzzle mechanic and Zero will get close to you and you'll just whack him and knock him over and then go right back to what you're doing. That
Yeah, he's like, no, not right now. I'm busy.
I don't know if you guys have ever watched Who Killed Captain Alex?
Yes.
There's a point in that
seen
movie
bits of it.
where a guy attacks another guy and the guy kicks him in the face and the camera moves to him and then it shifts away from him as soon as he's off screen. And it has that very same energy that is hilarious. But, yeah. So, this story finally starts significantly different from Sonic and Tails, because we start already, like, partway into the story.
Oh, you mean partway into the overarching story, but obviously this is
Right.
Amy's
Yeah.
start. Yeah. I see what you're getting at.
Which was
We
a really refreshing change of pace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we start with Amy, I guess, being depressed about living under late capitalism. I don't know. She lives in the station square and I guess has her own apartment, even though she's supposedly like 12 years old. I don't know.
Man, I wish that could be me.
Rent control is
Uh-huh.
crazy here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Station Squares pays people to live there because they know it's under threat constantly.
You know what?
People wouldn't live there otherwise.
Yeah,
Right.
You know
they
what?
they buy a population.
It's like Gotham City, rent super low because there's so many supervillains.
Exactly. Like you
You-
never
you-
know when the Joker is just gonna blow up Station Square.
He would do it.
The
That's
Joker
for
will
sure.
find a way to blow up Station Square.
Somehow.
Joker's gonna give Eggman tips on how to be evil.
Oh man, I would pay money to see that.
Just have them recreate like We Are Number One.
Exactly.
Mark Hamill and Mike Pollock and the same thing. It would be a winner.
It would.
I didn't realize Amy was like 12. Now that you put it that way, that's strange. But I thought, oh, this is just a cool, slice of life moment that you don't actually get very often with Sonic characters. Because Amy is the less heroic type, at least at this point. And so, yeah, she's just walking around with some groceries, and that's cool. She's just musing about she's brooding about something.
She misses the thrill of danger. This is one of my favorite things, is that she's like, oh, I miss being able to run around with Sonic, and they have this low-res JPEG of Beta, Windy Valley, and Skydeck in the background. And it's also the one time that Metal Sonic model is used in the game's story, because she's like, I miss chasing bad guys and blowing them away, when it shows her being kidnapped by Metal Sonic.
Huh.
Oh, now I want to see Sonic CD Amy's story, because she would act like she's the one who saved the day, wouldn't she?
Well, you gotta buy
I mean,
Sonic
she
Origins
revealed the
Plus.
truth.
Yeah, she would.
I do concur with her, because I also miss Metal Sonic.
Yeah.
But she gets surprised by the egg carrier showing up over the city, which I don't. Does that actually happen in the 3 stories we've played so far?
It does now.
Well, no. So Eggman calls
Would
it to
Amy
Mystic
lie?
Ruins at one point,
Yeah.
so it must pass over Station Square when it's going there.
Amy would
suppose.
lie through her teeth.
Or
Yeah.
she's just lying because all these stories are full of contradictions. That's also possible.
It's literally the Clue movie.
I feel like this is
the
like,
Clue movie.
like this entire game is just like the main cast being interrogated by the cops, but none of them got their stories straight. But they didn't get their stories straight between each other.
I don't know if you're referencing this, but
Oh.
Roger Vanderwide, is that how you say his name? It's an excellent parody of this game, and it's just that.
I was not referencing that, but that's funny.
Well, who are the cops in this scenario? Because if it's like Remington or like King Acorn, then yeah, I totally expect them to lie to him.
Just lies through their teeth to them. Let's just say it's Remington, you know.
Yeah. Anywho,
I noticed that when the egg carrier does appear, as mentioned, Amy is like really surprised. She's like, Eggman, can it be? Which is interesting because when you said before that, like, oh, Eggman was away, I thought that was like, oh, you read it in the manual and it doesn't really come up in the game. But it's true. She's actually surprised. And yeah, he has been gone for a while. That's interesting.
and at the same time, so the egg carrier shows up along with E100 Alpha, also known as Zero, who is chasing a bird that Amy decides to protect because she is a kind soul, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely out of the goodness of her heart.
Well, probably it is actually that partially, but also she just wants to get in on some action, I'm thinking. And so
Oh yeah, it's out of boredom.
I will protect the
Out of
bird,
boredom,
so
there you
I
go.
don't have to.
I'm just gonna pretend she wanted to beat up the bird herself.
Oh,
She's
At a later
protecting
date.
it so
That's
she can
also
beat
possible.
it.
I'm just imagining like she throws it up like she's getting ready to hit a baseball, and with the hammer. Oh,
more
What else are you
accurate.
supposed to do with a bird?
every character in this game are characterizing as like a manic psychopath.
Remember, birds aren't real.
It's a good
Yeah.
point. Not,
Yeah, it's a CIA drone. What else is she gonna do?
Yeah, that's why Amy wants to destroy it. Duh.
So the first thing that this game expects you to do when you actually have control of the character is just walk across town to go do the cutscene from Sonic's story, which I think is funny. But we
Gotta
can
get
feel
to
here
those
that
places.
Amy is very different controlling than Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. She is quite a bit slower. She doesn't jump as high, but she still has a very floaty jump. And when she's running at full speed, if you press the hammer button, which she can hit things with a hammer, by the way, it does like a super jump by smashing the ground. I don't know how that works, but
I
it's cool.
loved doing that so
It's
much.
so much
This
fun.
is like one of the best techniques that any character has in this game. Literally, throughout every stage, I'm just flipping through the air over and over and over. It is
Oh, yeah.
endlessly satisfying.
It is very fun.
She's
It made me
acrobatic.
like legitimately enjoy Amy's movement the most. Just doing that hammer technique.
Yeah, she definitely has probably the best movement.
Well, so I will say there's one caveat, which is when I first played her story, I had a lot of trouble like getting enough speed to actually do that technique. And that's really annoying because at certain parts in the stages you actually have to. But once I realized, like all early 3D games, the physics are borked. And you just
Right.
have to jump over and over, and suddenly you're at max speed.
Yep.
Then it became
Yep.
a lot easier.
Well, and I would
Yeah, I
always
couldn't
use...
figure out how to do it consistently at first, but like at one point it just became easy.
Yeah, pretty much.
See, and I would always use both the new tricks mod and a physics swap mod to give Amy her like SA2 physics parameters, which would make her a little bit faster. So maybe I'm feeling the gap, and that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. But I do like being able to pull this stuff off successfully. And certainly this is not the worst that Amy will ever play in a 3D game, but Yeah, so you do the Sonic cutscene. I like how Sonic follows the sidewalk when running from Amy. It looks very funny.
Hey, don't want to commit crimes. No jaywalking.
Exactly.
No
Yeah,
jaywalking
Sonic would never commit crimes.
in this closed space where no cars can get in or out.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Why is there a street then?
I have no idea.
It's for the helicopters to land on.
Ah, yes, of course.
So Zero chases you into Twinkle Park, and I want to point out this cutscene does have the computer monitor that says "cute couples get in free." So what I was saying in the Sonic episode is true.
Right.
Maybe Amy's just hallucinating it.
Maybe Sonic can't see computer monitors.
Sonic's a
Maybe Sonic
technophobe.
can't see. Full stop.
Maybe he
It's
can't read.
possible too.
Sonic's getting around via echolocation.
Sonic has the Daredevil vision.
Oh, they finally brought back Echo the Dolphin in the Sonic series.
Hell yeah, it's Echo the Sonic.
What do you mean, finally? Who do you think has been behind the entire Sonic franchise?
Well, do you think the true villain?
Who do you think Eggman works for if not Echo the Dolphin?
So before we give away too much of that, let's talk about Amy's state, shall we? Twinkle Park is pretty good, I think.
I think it starts a little slow because you're right outside in the pool area from Sonic and I guess Big's playthroughs, and you have to press 3 buttons to open the door, which is like I don't know if I love it because I like linear platforming challenges, but this is just busy work.
Oh, it's an open area at the start you can kind of use to get your bearings a little bit. I like how you walk by the pool and Zero just rockets out to kill you. He's really bad at it, but
But
it's
at
the
least
first.
he's crying.
Yeah, he's such a good boy. He
trying.
tries
There
so
you go.
hard. He deserves
Yeah.
a gold star. But
Definitely not a good grade.
no, a gold star, but an F.
Yeah.
You
Apply
know what they
yourself.
say? F is for effort.
Right. No, I'll admit I got confused for a little bit, but I've said it before, but some parts of Sonic games just aren't super fast paced, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Wait, it
much
is?
more weighty,
Yeah.
which is not an insult. I don't like that she can't kill enemies by jumping. I think that if you didn't need to use the hammer, I would be more okay with her.
I don't mind that because you can just jump over them and then you do a twirl and then they're dead.
I
If
like
you
having
try,
to use the hammer. It like helps Amy feel different.
well, see that's the thing
Yeah.
is it really differentiates her, and that is very important.
It's not as
Definitely
big a
feels
deal
like
here as it
the
is
other
in like
characters.
Sonic Advance 1, where it makes her
Okay,
harder.
you beat me to it. I was going to say, and hitting enemies is not nearly as hard as, yes, in Sonic Advance 1, it is absolute hell in that game. Do not play Amy in that game. It's terrible. But in this game, it's fine. It's a little annoying if you try to use the attack without jumping, because then she just comes to an abrupt halt. So just don't do
But
it
why
that
would
way.
you stop jumping ever? It's Amy.
Yeah, that's true.
Just jump all the time.
Yeah. And throughout
Yeah.
all these levels, you're harassed by Zero, of course, who is not really a threat at all. He is not hard to deal with. I do think there is technically a fail state where he can grab you and capture you. I have never seen it, ever.
I did it on purpose once just to see, and yes, it's true. The rumors are true. But yeah, it's never happened to me not on purpose.
Well, at least Zero can technically be a threat.
Technically.
It proves that in some timeline, one among a billion or whatever that meme is, he does capture Amy, but only one.
I mean, Zero
Anyway.
has other redeeming qualities. Just a threat isn't one of them.
No,
Yeah.
that's okay.
It's
And
funny.
we're all good in our own ways, and that's
Not everyone needs to be threatening.
It's
Yes.
very wholesome.
Amy's Twinkle Park is unique, though, because once you do get inside, you have this Hall of Mirrors area that nobody else goes to, which has weird music with, like, a baby laughing in it.
I liked this. This was cool.
Oh.
I forgot
I
that
like
Amy
the Hall of
got
Mirrors.
I
their
didn't
own
like the
part of
whole
Twinkle Park.
mirrors. My brain just could not comprehend it half of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. I've seen this done in a billion video games, so I'm so used to it by this point.
So have I. I would have expected to understand it, but like, my brain couldn't wrap my mind around the mirrors and the controls sometimes.
Well, that is the one thing, is that in the big hallway with, like, the crusher balls, you have the Hall of Mirrors, but your control is still synced to specifically one copy of Amy, and you don't necessarily immediately know which one that is.
Right, that was my biggest struggle, trying to figure out which Amy I'm actually controlling.
It is a little disorienting, but you just have to get your bearings, and I think
Yeah.
that's apt given the area. It's supposed to be disorienting.
Yeah.
I thought this place was crazy before, but now you've got like physics-defying mirrors. What is Twinkle Park? Eggman didn't make this place, did he? I mean, maybe he did, but I didn't think he did.
Maybe that's why it's so weird.
Well, this is one of the things that I like in Sonic world building is the idea that any part of Eggman and his technology was already integrated into the world before he became before he went off the rails officially, you know?
Right.
Are you saying that he did have a part in this a while ago? It wasn't in order specifically to take down Sonic.
I don't know
in this
anything
thing.
about Twinkle Park. I'm just saying that I like any Sonic media that implies that as part of its world building. The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, the visual novel that they did recently, does imply that in some cases.
It does, yeah.
So it's possible that he could have made Twinkle Park as a point.
I see. Well, that's kind of the boring explanation. I like that instead there's just a mysterious theme park that has actual death, but people go there all the time, and apparently it's fine.
Oh, you know,
Maybe
like
one
Six
of
Flags.
Fine.
Exactly, actually.
Okay, we made that joke in the
It's a
Sonic
realistic
episode.
park.
We made that
I
joke
guess
in the
so.
Sonic episode. I don't know if Six Flags is really that, like, dangerous. It would have been one thing
It
to say,
is
like,
sort of.
Action Park, you know, because that was the one where people died all the time. But anyway, yeah, so Twinkle Park is fun enough. It's a little weird. There's a couple traps where, like, the floor falls out from beneath you.
Right.
Hmm.
And once you get out of the Hall of Mirrors, there's a couple points in this game where there's like a barrel or something, and you know, you can hit the to call hint ball and it says hide under the barrel, and it's almost entirely pointless. And it makes me wonder if Amy's gameplay was supposed to be like stealth based to some degree.
I remember that now that you mentioned it, but I definitely did not mess with that at all when I
No,
played.
it's pointless because either Zero sees you and you have to hit him, or you don't hide and you have to hit him anyway. Because he doesn't go away.
I'm
That's,
thinking it probably is a leftover from some sort of other experimented version. I must say, I'm so glad they went with this version.
Yeah, just having it be a normal platformer game is much better. And ironically, of course, you know, you get to the end of Amy's level, and her goals are always balloons.
Yeah.
I love this. This is hilarious. There's just a balloon there. Amy grabs it, and then Zero just angrily hops up and down over and over as the stage victory theme plays. It's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to be like in universe, but it's funny.
You know.
You know, with the ironic thing, of course, being that right after the level, you get ambushed and captured by Zero anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the classic, you wreck the boss, and then the cutscene says, no, you didn't, you lost, loser.
Yeah.
Amy hallucinated the balloon.
You know, that's actually maybe possible. I mean, I wouldn't say it hallucinated, but, like, there's definitely something weird with the balloons, because they only show up in the levels. I don't think they're actually supposed to be there in the plot.
Well, and you know, this leads to some of the stuff that we saw before, obviously, in Sonic Story, but, you know, we finally get up to the egg carrier, and we have the actual scene where Amy is stuck, imprisoned on the egg carrier, and Gamma comes in and he's like, give me the bird, and she's like, no. And he's like, why not? And she's like, because I care about people, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, so I'll admit it doesn't come off great here, but overall, Gamma's arc is really nice. And, at least in my order of playing, in the order we're talking about it here, this is the first time Gamma's theme played, and my god, rad as heck.
Yeah, I love Gamma's music. We'll exposit on that way more in his. We'll definitely have a lot to say with his. But Gamma lets her out, but only like halfway because Amy still has to play a game of whack-a-mole to escape.
That was kind of annoying.
You don't like Hedgehog Hammer?
No.
Someone's not used to having their like freedom hanging on a game of whack-a-mole. It's very common.
No,
occurrence.
I can't say that I am.
See, this game, I had to take it a few tries, but I didn't care because this situation is just hilarious. Like, literally, you go over here, and then Eggman is like, you can never escape, but let's see if you can clear this awesome game.
This awesome game!
It literally calls it that. Like, what? It's so Eggman, and I love it. And then when you win, he freaks out like as if you just ruined his entire plan. He's like, what? I can't believe this is happening.
It's amazing.
See,
Well,
Eggman's really into the competitive whack-a-mole scene, and like was not expecting Amy to perform so well, given that she's never been to a tournament.
I guess so. That's the only logical explanation.
Well, it's so characterful because you have to hit the Sonic heads, but if you hit the Eggman heads, you lose points. And you hit the Super Sonic for double points. It's great. Now, why that gives you a magic feather, I'm not sure fits with Eggman.
It's the arcade prize.
Well, you see, he doesn't have a hammer, so he found this feather, and then he's like, "Well, I can't use this. I know. I'll put it up as a prize for anyone who would challenge me at competitive whack-a-mole because no one plays it. He was surprised to even find someone who plays it.
Yeah.
He just wanted an opponent. But that aside, this is actually even more pointless than Tails' upgrade. Why is this mandatory? I never use this in Amy's story at all. I messed around with it in this room because it's kind of funny to see Amy get dizzy, but it's not useful.
Yeah, the hammer spin is entirely pointless. You can't really use it on enemies because you would just hit them. It's another thing that feels like the game was designed to have more enemies than it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's
I
the
used it
thing.
mostly when I needed a laugh instead of for any practical purposes.
Yeah, because
I
it makes
mean,
it look like you're getting Amy drunk.
It is peak comedy, but it would have. The problem is you're stuck in place. If it worked like Tails' upgrade that we actually talked about also, and is also mandatory, and you could move while you were spinning, that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. And, you don't use it to get into Hot Shelter. If you used it to get into Hot Shelter, that would be one thing, but you don't. Instead, you just hit a little peg that opens the door.
Which,
and-
like, very normal opening mechanism for a door.
Only
Yeah.
only whack-a-mole players allowed in.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's the Whack-A-Mole Gamer Club.
That's it.
And Hot Shelter here is a unique stage because it's the only stage that Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all don't go to. Only Amy, Gamma, and Big do.
Yeah, this is cool. I forgot that there was a unique major area that isn't in Sonic's story.
Amy's version starts with this little hallway full of, like, Greek statues.
Eggman's decorative sense is endlessly entertaining.
This game technically has boobs in it. Oh, it has to be rated a teen for teens. There's this weird mechanic where one of the pedestals is empty, and if you jump on it, there's this little balancing like mini game where Amy tries to not fall off of it.
I didn't do that. That's funny.
Neither did I. Huh.
I know, it's because it's a pointless little detail that I don't understand why it's in there, but I like it because it feels like a personal touch that like one of the devs was just bored and thought, hey, you know what would be funny?
That's definitely what that is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I would say this is probably Amy's best stage. It's certainly her longest, because it has buttons and doors to open and objects to push around, little puzzles here and there.
Yeah, I might call it Amy's best stage. I don't know. I like all of her stages, so it's hard to pick a favorite, but it's
The same
definitely
here.
great. The cranks are slightly annoying. Maybe my least favorite part of all of Amy's stages, because well, maybe it's just because I don't have a joystick. It's
Yeah, because
annoying
you're
with
playing on
arrow
a
keys.
keyboard.
Now that I think about it, it probably wouldn't be as bad otherwise. But that doesn't matter because it's a very small part of the stage. I love that you're traversing through like the inner workings of the egg carrier, and they actually, try to demonstrate that a little bit. There's a part where you're just climbing across gears, which is great.
Yeah. I like the part where, you have these block puzzles in the stage, and these are the one time that Zero can be kind of a nuisance, because you are pretty slow picking them up and moving around with them. But I like the first one because it's in this room with all these TV screens, and when you get them all down, the screens turn from static to they have Zero on him, and then he bursts through the screen.
I love this moment. This is my favorite Zero ambush. It is amazing.
It
That
is
one is pretty
incredible.
cool.
This is Zero's calling, and he excels at it.
A shame he's only in like one other game.
You don't have to have good characters show up in a million games. I mean, there's another robot character that's also good, and I think good that they don't return because, sometimes you have a character story and then they're finished.
Fair enough.
Zero definitely isn't that. He
Mhm.
could probably show up as a joke in other games easily. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just because someone's good doesn't mean you have to use them over and over. That certainly hurts certain characters, like little red echidnas.
Or Shadow.
Or Shadow.
Or Shadow.
Mm.
But they've been working on the Zero spinoff like all these years since SADX has come out, so.
Oh yeah, they needed
Zero
their own
will
follow-up
buy
to
it.
Mega Man Zero.
Yep.
Ah, yes, of course.
All right, this is off topic. Hot Shelter. Yeah, I like running through the bathrooms in this stage because why does it have both a men and a women's room with all these stalls? What is Eggman planning to do with this ship?
He probably.
I think Eggman's just assuming people will join him eventually and recognize his genius.
Yeah, he probably is planning ahead for guests at some point.
Right.
Everybody's gonna buy Twitter Blue, I swear.
Second, actually more logical point. Amy was taken prisoner at one point, so
Mm.
Oh, yes, I'm sure he constructed an entire women's bathroom for the prisoner.
I
Well,
don't
maybe
know.
slave laborers, but yeah.
Well, like he does have like robots that like are made to look more feminine, so that's probably
Oh yeah, the robot maids use this one.
yeah. It's one for the robot maids.
Maybe the toilets are just for show; they don't actually work.
Or maybe he
It's for
designs
like the
robots that actually need to use the toilet.
Why would you? I'm not gonna ask about that. I'm not gonna ask. There's a weird bit in this stage where, like, you're getting chased by Zero through, like, a hallway or whatever, and there's a staircase that you can kind of jump off of to get to an opening, but what you're actually supposed to do is push the staircase because it has wheels on it.
Right, yes. I like when stages have like little puzzles like that where you can do them the way they intended, but if you're just good, you can kind of skip them.
It
Man, I
reminds
think
me of
I
when I used to
think
work
I did.
retail. I had to push a lot of staircases on wheels around to get to stuff above bay areas for product. But anyway, that's Hot Shelter. I don't think there's anything else in that stage that I care about. So Amy, of course, gets her obligatory Tikal flashback. But the devs made a mistake with this one, because it throws you into the main Echidna town, but Amy's actual cutscene takes place in the altar area, directly behind the place where it drops you.
Yeah, there's no reason that Amy even need to be in the temple area. It's very not temple area or the pyramid area. It's strange.
I mean, you can say hi to your Echidna bros, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's nice, but it's redundant because you can get there with Tails. So I don't know why they just put Amy there. I mean, Sonic didn't get to go there.
Well, and the fact that you can move between those areas at all, like, it makes sense spatially why they would be connected, but I don't think there's ever a time when you need to do that other than this.
I mean, I guess I'd already had my fill, but with Tails, I thoroughly explored this place, so I do appreciate that you can look around a little bit, even if it's pointless.
Yeah. The cutscene itself sort of shows Tikal. I don't know if we're seeing these Tikal flashbacks out of order. I guess we must be to some extent.
Most people
because of
probably
Sonic's.
did anyway, so.
But this is
Yeah.
Tikal, like, first getting
Yeah.
acclimated to, like, all the Chow living around the Master Emerald, and they're, like, singing.
That's what was happening. I see. I barely understand any of these cutscenes.
I mean,
It
that's
is-
fair. I don't think anyone does.
Yeah.
Well, they're kind of out of sync. It is weird because they try to have Tikal, like, take a step, and it scares the Chow, and they run and they fall over, but it all happens sort of at the same time, so it looks weird.
My favorite part of this cutscene is how it ends because it gets cut off just as chaos starts rising up, and then it flashes back to the present, tricking the player into thinking, "Oh, like is chaos attacking?" I assume that was what someone would assume, seeing this the first time.
Yeah. Well, and it's like communicating sort of through drops in the water. It's a little trippy. I think my issue with all these Tikal flashbacks is that they only make sense from an audience perspective, seeing them kind of in order. If you are watching all of these in a row, if you just assumed that the character was always the same character, it would make a lot more sense than all these disconnected pieces that you get. Where it's like, when this happens to Big and Gamma, this is totally pointless to their narratives. But anyway, so Amy wakes up outside the pool area in the egg carrier, which does not connect to Hot Shelter in the slightest, so I don't know how she got there. But maybe she went up the drain in the pool or something, I don't know.
Possible, I suppose.
But Amy leaves, and then we finally get the Gamma scene, which finally makes sense because we know that Gamma he's a guy, and Amy teaches him how to be a real dude.
He's just a funky little dude.
Yeah, it's nice. As I said, the way they cross the stories is done somewhat sloppily sometimes, I think. But for once, this makes sense because they explain why Amy defeated Gamma. So yeah, good, solid.
Yeah, things basically play out pretty similar. The one weird thing is that Eggman does get his hand on the bird, and so the bird has a pendant. I don't know how the bird has a pendant in the first place, but it had a Chaos Emerald in it. Why did it have that?
Yeah, this is one of the great
well.
Sonic mysteries. I don't think it's ever explained. Is it?
I don't think so. If it were like a crow and it just likes shiny objects, I suppose that could work. But I still don't know where it gets a pendant from.
The bird is smarter than any of us realize.
I mean, it might as well be.
The bird has that advanced
So-
technology to make its own pendant to put an emerald in.
I mean, I can make my own explanation. Perhaps Zero was hunting down a Chaos Emerald, and someone had it, and then that someone, when Zero was gonna punch him or something, gave it to the bird, and the bird flew off.
It's possible, but here's the thing. The cutscene plays out like normal, and Amy and the bird, they're fine. And Tails drops us off back in Station Square, and Amy sees that the bird's pendant has a photo of the bird and their 2 family members in it. Who the hell took that photo? Did they take the photo, make a pendant, put the photo in the pendant, give it to the bird, and then the emerald just got lodged in there somehow?
Wait, is the pendant in the photo?
Yeah, the photo's in the pendant.
Oh, that doesn't really work with my theory then, because they can't have just made the pendant in 2 seconds. Now, yeah, I shouldn't even try to explain it. This doesn't make any sense. It feels like something they meant to explain at some point and they didn't.
I sure hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Not a blunder. It's just
I'm
they
being
probably
facetious.
planned it and then didn't get to it for some
I'm
reason.
being the nerd guy from The Simpsons. Don't worry about it.
Well, I have to respond seriously to jokes when I feel so inclined.
Yeah, this is what Lauren does. I'm not sure if you've noticed, Devin, but
All right. So, we're back in Station Square, but we don't actually want to be in Station Square. We have to set off to the Mystic Ruins to check out the final egg base, which means we have to go through the whole jungle area.
It's not that bad if you know where you're going, but yes, that's true.
And one thing that is interesting is that despite never having been to the jungle before, Amy verbally remarks on the tower appearing out of nowhere. So it's not a continuity error. I guess maybe it, retracts into the earth or something?
it was just invisible the whole time and no one ran into it.
You know, I think that was a joke, but that actually is the best explanation. It probably is cloaked. That would explain why Gamma's story starts off there, but no one else sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that Amy is like, okay, wow, so your friends were taken by Eggman, huh? Okay, well then let's just go get him. Huh. Yeah, this is weird. There's this place with a tower. And she says, wow, this bridge looks dangerously suspicious. Let's go anyway. Like, she has no fear at all. It's funny because at the start of this game, she was just living a normal life, and now she's totally fine going and storming Eggman's base.
Yeah, she's back into the swing of things.
She likes the
Yeah,
That
adventure,
makes
yeah.
sense.
And yeah, so she solves the same puzzle as Sonic to get into Final Egg, which is fine. I guess you can hit the buttons with the hammer. Maybe that's more fun than doing it as Sonic. But this is her final stage. Amy only gets 3 stages. Most of her campaign is cutscenes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But I do think it's ended on a fun note. I appreciate that Zero is going full ham here. Also, no one brought up, so I'm going to bring up the fact, I do think Zero was going after the Chaos Emerald, because it doesn't make any sense why he would go after a bird. But I think
100%.
he's just such a stupid person, or stupid robot, that he associated the bird with the Chaos Emerald and didn't realize, oh, I don't need to chase after it when it lost the emerald.
The
Which just
bird
makes
is the Chaos Emerald.
It makes it very much more funny. And I will say, even though he's an idiot, mad props for effort, because in this stage, Zero, laser focus, no regard for, the well-being of Eggman's base. He's just crashing through walls, destroying everything in his single-minded pursuit.
Well, yeah, it was Property Damage Wednesday.
Oh, that's it. That makes sense.
Of course.
This would be the kind of game to take place on a fucking Wednesday. I don't even know what that means.
No
but,
idea what that means, but I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
But yeah, Final Egg is not as long or flashy as Sonic's, but it's fun. It's shorter than Hot Shelter as well, but it doesn't have as many puzzles, so it's just a little breezier. I do like some of the mechanics. There's this one room in this stage where you have a whole bunch of doors that you get to choose from, and I think they teleport you if you go into certain ones, because they don't all go to the same place every time. It's random which way is the actual way out, I believe.
Hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And at least in the Dreamcast version or with the Dreamcast assets, if you go in the wrong way, you will hear a voice clip of Eggman making fun of you.
That is amazing.
That's great.
I like the bit of this stage where the stupid elevator with arms returns, but it's at the top, and it has to go down very, very slowly.
Yeah.
As you just have to harass Zero over and over. It's amazing.
Well, Tikal will tell you to, hide behind some file cabinets, but yeah, no, you just punch him.
Yeah, you
Why-
just
why
hit
wouldn't
Zero
you?
repeatedly.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was over too quickly. I was having a lot of fun because most of the stage you can just run through and you don't have to think too hard for the most part. I did think it's a good end, but sadly too short.
Well, and sadly, doesn't amount to much because most of everything you get out of this stage is, I guess the bird family isn't here. Let's go to the crashed egg carrier instead. And then you have to slowly walk backwards uphill through the forest, which is not fun.
Just jump over and over. But yes, it's true. The hub worlds are bad, and they remain bad always. The hub worlds are not done well. I do like, though, that visually we get to revisit the egg carrier after it's crashed into the ocean. That's neat.
Yeah, this is our first time doing it. We'll do it a little bit more with the other characters, but yeah, I like the egg character, and there's a music track that is meant to be played on the egg carrier when it's crashed in the ocean, but in the vanilla game, it only ever plays, like, for one cutscene in Gamma's playthrough. I think the mods for the PC version put it there in the hub world, but it's a really great, like, jazz piece that I love. But most of what we do here is we get to the egg carrier, and we just immediately find the other birds. They're just here. And
so that's actually explained, isn't it, in another story?
no, we know where they come from as people who have played this game before, but for the context of Amy's playthrough, she doesn't know anything that happened here. So it is
sure.
It is a little weird if you're playing this if you're playing these stories in the order they're presented to you, I guess.
I think that's a minor enough detail that, like, I'll allow that. Like,
it's explained. It's fine.
The Tikal flashbacks are not split up in a good way, but that little detail is, like, that's rewarding, I think, to, see how the stories link up. When I'm just playing it, I would just be like, oh, Amy did what she said she would do, and she's like, okay, I'll just look somewhere else where Eggman was.
Well, and I do like this scene because the other birds show up, but then Zero just fucking one-shots our bird. It's almost, like, kind of awesome that he's just like, oh, hey, there it is, punch!
This is one of the best moments in the story, because even though in gameplay you can't hurt Zero because he's, like, really armored or something, I think in, like, plot-wise, Amy, she actually isn't afraid, like, to take on Eggman, but every time Zero shows up in a cutscene, she's, like, shook. But this is the moment where she's like, no, I'm taking you down. No fear, only rage.
She is filled with righteous fury.
And then she hacks that bugger apart.
Yeah, we get Amy's one and only boss fight against Zero. And mechanics notwithstanding, I do think that narratively it actually works really well. You have to hit him into these electric barriers. I don't know where those come from, but those open up his head to smash him.
Yes. In gameplay, it is immensely satisfying because even though, Zero is mostly fun, but he can be a little annoying sometimes. So it is cool to finally actually be able to, do damage on him. And it feels rewarding because Zero, for the most part, he has a few exclusive attacks. He attacks just like in the stages. So you can probably run circles around him at this point. You really just get to wail on him, and it's just a fun time.
Yeah, they build this up as a robot that's harassing you the whole game, and then they let you go to town on him. And I always struggled with this as a kid, because he has the ground smash attack, which, when he does it a bunch of times, since you're slower to pick up your rings, you can die to that. And his, like, electric arm swing attack that covers basically the entire arena. I'm just not great at jumping over it. But it is satisfying to wail on him. And he blows up spectacularly when you beat him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, fun boss fight. And, again, when we talk about, which boss fights can you control the pace of, this one is a good example of that, because you can hit him at almost any point, I think. You can't always hit him into the barrier, but you can knock him around.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can end this fight pretty quickly if you're good. And, yeah, they do a minor fake-out in the end cutscene, because they have the bird being hurt, and he's, like, trying to fly, and then he falls, and you're like, oh, shit. But then he's okay. It would be crazy if they killed a small cute creature at the end of this children's game.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Not yet.
It's their way of saying grow up.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's fine. And Amy got to fight a robot and save a bird.
I find it funny that after all that, Amy only cares about having triumphed in their mission because it might make Sonic respect them.
Yeah, it feels almost like a regression, like, because if you said this wasn't all about Sonic, then that would say that Amy had an arc where she became more independent.
And it's hammered in by I really do not like Amy's theme.
I keep trying to like My Sweet Passion. It's not my thing at all.
Well, so I mean, like meaning wise, it's just Amy fawning over Sonic, which no, like that was fine in CD. It gets annoying after a while, and the hushed voice is right in your ear. Ugh.
ASMR. I'm gonna be honest, I used to really hate Amy. Both because I was a very misogynistic child, I believe I've mentioned that on this show before, but also because, like, her depiction in Sonic Heroes and Sonic X and some other stuff, it didn't just revolve around Sonic, it was she's fucking creepy. In this game, she's mostly okay because she's mostly not thinking about Sonic for most of the game. It feels like she's an actual person. And Jennifer Dooley is among the better actors in this game, I would say. She's not grating.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely compared to some of the other characters. She's fine. She's fine.
Yeah, so surprisingly okay playthrough. I think that probably could have used another stage, but what is here is fine.
Mhm.
I like that apparently, according to the ending scene, after all that, Amy had to go back and buy more groceries because she dropped her first set.
And then she's dropping more in the ending image.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, after all this, fuck, we have to talk about Big next week, don't we?
Oh, heck yeah.
Well, that's next week, and it's not this week. So that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, criticism, you can reach us at any of the places shown on screen. If you want to punch me in the face for not enjoying Amy as much as the rest of us, I am willing to accept that. As long as you put more likes and views on the video. We hope to see you next week. Have a great night, and take care.